This is my question. I remember now. So when a genie comes out of a teapot, does it come out of the middle or does it come out the spout?
The spout.
It comes out the spout, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to make sure for the thumbnail.
Yeah, it comes out the spout.
Yeah. So
what is that old saying? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I guess if the genie's in the bottle, you take the top
But
off.
is it a bottle or a teapot? Welcome to Over the Years. My name is Tim, and I love vintage items. I hunt for treasures and bring you the ultimate prizes of antiques, collectibles, and vintage decor. Join me, my dukes, my girlfriend Josie, and other guests as we search for history. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim. This is Over the Years, and we're going to show you 20 items that sold on, how many platforms?
I have no idea.
Mercari, Grailed, Etsy, eBay.
Depop.
Depop didn't sell anything.
Okay.
Mercari, Etsy, Poshmark, Grailed, eBay. 5 out of the 6 platforms. So 20 items on 5 platforms. I think we did over $1,000 in sales. I'm not sure, but it was a good weekend, and we're gonna show you guys what sold. I was gonna ask you something. I forgot what it was. All right, so let's start with Mercari. First thing that sold on Mercari was this. What I've been doing is I've been moving some items that I have in my clearance section on Etsy over to Mercari to see how they sell over there. So the first thing that sold was this vintage Yamachi. It was like an urn vase. It was really pretty actually. Like it's almost like an oversized ginger jar, but I think it was more of an urn vase than a ginger jar. I got this early on in my days of thrifting and has been sitting around for forever. But it sold for $30, and that included shipping. Next thing that sold was something from our how to photograph uranium glass video, and I'll put the link for that right up top. I always forget which side if I'm not sitting in the same place.
You're pretty much in the middle, so I don't know if you want to scoot a little right or scoot a little left.
Oh, well, you were supposed to tell me that before we started filming, remember?
We're a little more to the...
So you should scoot. I need to have space to show the people.
Okay, then scoot whichever way you feel like scooting.
So now I got space here?
You have much more space.
All right. So this was from our how to photograph uranium glass video. I got this piece for free from my estate sale lady hookup. And this sold for $42, and that included shipping. It was a vintage Anchor Hawking banded rings was the name of the pattern, and it was like a sandwich server, tidbit tray sort of thing. And the next thing that sold was a vintage Pyrex, and it was the Colonial Mist pattern. It was the 444, and we just picked this up for $5 at the flea market. It was at the weekend before last, and I'll put a link for that video, whichever side those links pop up on. And that sold for $35, and that included shipping. All right, so those are the 3 things that sold on Mercari this weekend. So Grailed has been rocking lately, especially because we have started listing stuff from the vintage hat haul and the vintage NASCAR t-shirt haul. So we did make a couple of sales over the weekend on Grail, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into that stuff. The first thing that sold on Grail this weekend was this vintage 90s Awesome Dad fisherman hat. So basically it said Awesome Fisherman, and then they crossed out Fisherman and then wrote in Dad. This sold within like 10 minutes of listing, and it sold for $15. The Grailed prices will include shipping. Excuse me. The next thing that sold was this vintage Pyrex. Oh, never mind. That was in Mercari. All right. So next thing that sold on Grailed was a Wendy's snapback hat from the 90s, and that sold for $15 plus shipping. Both of these hats came from our vintage hat haul, and I'll throw a link for that. I don't know if it's above me or over there, but We'll figure it out. The next thing that sold was the second vintage NASCAR t-shirt out of the NASCAR shirt lot haul, one of the two. This was a really like dope big graphic. It said virtual intimidator. This was a vintage 90s Dale Earnhardt all over pretty much graphic, big graphic, not all over but big graphic. And that sold for $50. And if you haven't seen the video where I unbox or unbag those t-shirts, I'll throw a link up there for you guys. The next one that sold was a vintage 90s Racing Collectibles Club snapback hat. And that is out the door for $15. So those are the items that sold over the weekend on Grailed. We did have one Poshmark sale. This was a vintage University of Utah champion sweatshirt crew neck, and that sold for $20. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump right into eBay. We did have a couple of big sales on eBay, some quick sales on eBay, which is always a good thing. The first thing that sold, this has been sitting around in the basement for forever. Do you even know where these came from?
Yeah, I got them at the Kennedy Center gift shop. We had what was called a 40s festival, where we had all things from 1940, and the gift shop carried 40s themed items. And this was a cute little ornament set with little vintage kitchen tools, like a little ricer and a little
yeah, that was really rad actually.
They're actually very cute. My neighbor, I gave my neighbor a set of them, and she put them as decorative items in her kitchen. So yeah, that was a nice set. I had no clue what I was going to use it for. I bought two of them, one for her as a gift and one for myself, thinking, oh, I'll do something with this, but I didn't. So that's why it sat in the basement.
Yeah, and we never listed it because we couldn't. It
wasn't vintage.
Yeah, so we didn't list it on Etsy, and then we totally forgot about it. And then as we were cleaning up, we found them again. I was like, oh, I'll just list these on eBay. They sold within 24 hours. This box of vintage kitchen utensil ornaments by Seasons of Cannon Falls, and it sold for $20 plus shipping. The next thing that sold is another piece of Flow Blue. This was a butter pat, so they're like these really small,
almost like pin dishes.
Yeah, almost like this, basically the exact same size as like a pin dish. And this was made by Stanley Pottery. The name of the pattern was Tureen, and this butter pat sold for $30 plus shipping. So nice flip on those butter pats, and I have 4 of them, so I still have 3 left. The next thing that sold on eBay was a big ticket item. This was a piece from our vintage camera lot, and we probably only have like 3 or 4 listings left from that lot. This is a vintage Nikon Nikkor 200mm 1:4 lens, aged from like 77 to 81, and this sold for $71.99 plus shipping. So nice flip. That's 100% profit on that lens. The next thing that sold was this really dope vintage 1950 Dorset Rex lucite and metal purse in brown, and I have 2 of these. They both came from Dukes. They belong to
my aunts,
yeah,
your great aunts,
my great aunt Polly and Mackie. So we have one in this like tortoise shell looking lucite, and then I have one that's in black. They've been listed on my Etsy store for a very long time. I probably cross-listed them to Poshmark and eBay within the last month, and the first one has already sold. It sold for $80 plus shipping. So that is the sales on eBay over the weekend. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into Etsy. So the first thing that sold on Etsy was this vintage Sandlandware pink and purple gold luster earthenware pitcher. It was a small, about 3 3/4 inches tall. I got this in an online auction, and when I received it, I noticed that there was a hairline crack in the inside of the pitcher. So I ended up getting it for free. My Dukes displayed it with her lusterware, copper lusterware collection for a while. And then when she got a new one, she got rid of one. So I listed this, and it sold. The buyer was all in for $37.74. The next thing that sold, this piece was also damaged. It had a little chip on the crimp edge of the vase. This is a vintage Fenton glass double crimped peach crest vase, and the buyer was all in on that piece for $29.80. The next thing that's sold is some uranium glass. It's not a week that goes by, a weekend that goes by that we don't sell some uranium glass or Vaseline glass. I hope you guys have your black flashlights. Over the years, black flashlights will be coming out soon. So, these were a pair of vintage triangular based beaded rope uranium glass candlestick holders. And the buyer was all in for those for $24.49. If you watched our last What Sold video, we touched briefly on Liberty Blue. We sold 2 dinner plates in the Liberty Blue last week. And this weekend we sold a pair of Liberty Blue saucers. I will be putting out a video, educational video soon on Liberty Blue. Because it is something that I think that you can find most of the time for very cheap, and it is a consistent seller.
And also, aren't we going to do a video, educational video on cracks and chips and what
and dings? Yes. How you can still sell items that have damage if you
in the glassware world.
Yeah, and in China too.
Yeah.
So these pair of saucers, the buyer was all in for $17.27. Up next, I went through a phase where I was like all about buying these vintage barware and advertising whiskey pitchers. Sometimes they're called water pitchers. They can be very valuable and they're highly collectible.
And they're kind of cool.
Yeah, they're definitely really cool for sure. Like that's one of those things where it's like it just crosses over. Like it's functional and you can use it as decor.
I never spent a lot of time in bars, but when I was there, I always would notice the really interesting displays behind the bar that they had, or especially those light up signs. And
oh yeah, those
Blue Moon ones. I'd kill for one of those. I don't even drink.
So this one was a 7-inch tall chocolate brown Hennessy VSOP advertising bar pitcher, and the buyer was all in on that piece for $26.02. Now, the big sale item of the weekend. This is a vintage Hall China Morning Glory Aladdin teapot with infuser. This is the second one of these that I've sold. This one I found at a thrift store. I think it was the blind shop. I want to say it was the blind shop.
I think it was a blind shop.
And I paid like between $4 and $8 for it. Anyways, this is my question. I remember now. So when a genie comes out of a teapot, does it come out of the middle or does it come out the spout?
The spout.
It comes out the spout, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to make sure for the thumbnail.
Yeah, it comes out the spout.
Yeah. So
what is that old saying? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I guess if the genie's in the bottle, you take the top
But
off.
is it a bottle or a teapot?
Well, in a teapot situation, I would think it would come out the spout.
So a genie come out of a teapot or a genie come out of a bottle?
What it is it's a genie style lamp, because I guess.
Or teapot.
Well, it's a genie style teapot that probably looked like the old genie lamps back in the day, and whatever that was it called, tales or myths or whatever. Or,
well, you watched I Dream of Genie, right?
Yeah, but it's been a long time. I only remember that theme song. Doo 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 doo.
So this was a
that's all I remember.
This was a vintage Hall China. Morning Glory is the name of the pattern and design, and Aladdin teapot is the name of the shape of the teapot, and it came with the infuser. And the buyer was all in on this teapot for $186.68. So an absolutely awesome flip. The next thing that sold, I believe you and I found this when we went to Hagerstown to pick up those auction wins, and we stopped by that antique mall place right there on the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania.
Oh, I think that's where I bought a Longaberger basket, which I needed like a hole in the head.
It was a vintage Fenton glass, custard satin, Vaseline glass, Madonna prayer light. That thing was pretty badass.
Oh, yeah, when that lit up with the light.
Oh, yeah. So the buyer was all in on that for $47.50. And the last thing that sold on Etsy. Now, when I picked this picture up, I thought for sure it was going to sell immediately because it was gorgeous. And we're actually getting ready to pack it up right now. This was a vintage made in Germany US zone, which is what it says on the bottom, which kind of like gives you an idea of the age of the piece. and it was a porcelain pitcher vase, and it's gorgeous.
I don't
And-
even like brown china stuff, but this is really pretty with the green accent around the
Oh
crown.
yeah, it's
Oh,
just
it's
it's really nice.
very unique.
And I actually had put this in my clearance section in Etsy because it just hadn't been moving, and it sold. The buyer was all in for $64.57. So that rounds out the weekend. I mean, it was a pretty good weekend, and that's the thing about what makes it so good and important to cross list and cross post across all these different platforms.
Tell me how gorgeous that is.
Yeah,
look at that. Isn't that pretty?
I mean, look at the green, like.
The green accents.
I think, can you see? I don't know if you can see it on the bottom. You might be able to see that marking.
If you could hold it still.
And so that's the importance of being able to cross list and cross post, however you want to say it, because I made those sales across 5 of the 6 platforms I sell on. If I was just selling on one platform, I would have not had such a great weekend. But fortunate for me, I take the time out to list on all these platforms, and it allows me to have a better weekend and feel a little bit better about being a full-time reseller. So the other thing is that, what was I going to say? Oh, we sold a lot of different things. I mean, we sold everything from clothes to hats to china to glass. So it's like all across the map, and it's a lot of fun when you're able to do that. So hopefully we're gonna have some new videos for you guys soon. We're gonna try and get some more educational videos out there and help you guys, you know, get prepared for as thrift stores start to reopen, yard sales are starting to come out. You know, give you guys as much ammunition as you could possibly have to like increase the things that you can be sourcing and making money on. So we hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you as always. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know, there's all these other videos and playlists that are around my face right now that you guys can click on too. So make sure you guys enjoy the rest of your week. And that's it. Good night, goodbye, good afternoon.